are identified, once I've identified, say, pain or fear or something like this where I know that it is creating an unpleasant situation or suffering for me, what are the next ways for me to deal with this? What is next?
A lot of suffering is just unnecessary. If it is unnecessary, give it up. A part of it is necessary. If it is necessary, go through it. We can see the next question coming. What is the next question?
How do you say it's necessary?
How do we know which part of suffering is unnecessary and which part is necessary? You see, you move about like a drunkard on the road and get hit or keep hitting and abuse or get abused and blow up your money, and all of that has a suffering component attached with it. That is unnecessary. Even if you suffer for 1,000 years, you won't be spiritually elevated, right? If you get cursed by 1,000 men for 1,000 years, it won't elevate your spiritual status even a little. So that kind of suffering is totally foolish. Just give it up. You don't need to do that. Ego finds a perverse pleasure even in suffering. People meet me, and there are so many of them who say, you look at all the great yogis and rishis, they suffered so much, and that is why they arrived at greatness. I said, not everybody who suffers arrives at greatness. There has to be a particular quality even in suffering. Not all suffering is necessary. Most of human suffering is totally unnecessary. Give it up. A monk had once met me. I was in Dharamshala. I had a long conversation with him. He had come to visit. It's a cold place, Dharamshala. And the fellow would be always in just one piece of cloth. I said, why are you doing this to yourself? He said, suffering is necessary. I said, are you sure this kind of suffering will lead you somewhere? But he was very determined, and he was a senior monk, and he had done that all his life. It was very difficult for him to accept that all the suffering that he has accumulated, rather earned over his lifetime, is needless. It's needless. Technology is good. Science has provided man with medicine. All that is not just hot air. All that is meaningful. If you are having a great headache, don't tell me that your peace won't be disturbed. If modern medicine can help you get rid of your physical disorders, at least, that helps. No point quoting again and again that you are the Atma and nothing but the Atma. So no migraine or no headache affects you. Those who have headaches and migraines know that these do affect. Keeping a migraine upon you and saying that suffering helps and suffering cleanses and purifies is nonsensical. Give it up. And then there is legitimate and genuine suffering that comes to you in the process of self-realization. You'll have to go through it. I'll give an example. You think of yourself as a very worthy man. You think of yourself as an honest man. You think of yourself as a loving father or a loving son or a loving husband. Or you think of yourself as a devoted wife, a caring mother, a loving daughter, something. The more you open your eyes in the spiritual sense, the more you realize that you have been exploiting others just every bit as much as others have been exploiting everybody else. And then it is not pleasant to come upon this realization. One suffers. What I'm saying is that awareness brings suffering in its wake. You cannot wake up and not suffer. This is what I'm calling as genuine suffering. And many people prefer to not to wake up just because they want to avoid genuine suffering as well. And I assure you, what you call as self-realization is never going to be pleasant. It is not going to be blissful or something. It is always a bit of a heartbreak. One sees the futility of one's life. One sees how tremendously misled one has been. And all that hits the ego. One gets hurt. It is never pleasant to get hurt. But one has to pass through that. One has to let that suffering come, and one has to stand very vulnerable to it. One has to bow her head down. One has to say, I see I have been not only blind, but I have been needlessly blind. All my life I have just deceived myself. One's self-esteem falls into pieces. One has to be prepared for all that. And all that I said entails suffering. You will not reach truth with your ego intact.
To realize one thing, somebody realizes in one instance, I take like 10, 11 instances, and then also I get half of the truth. It happens often. How do I reduce this gap or time? Why I need to get hurt so much that I lose everything, and then I realize that I have to build.
Love yourself more. Love yourself more. We have been taught to hate ourselves. We have been taught to hate ourselves and therefore love the world. When you look at a nice shirt, what do you say? Let me wear this shirt will add value to me. So what do you hate and what do you love? You despise yourself, you say I am of inferior value. Even a shirt you think of as something that can add value to you, don't you? And therefore when you find people wearing expensive shirts, you look up to them. We have been taught to look down upon ourselves. Love yourself. Respect yourself. And then you will not accept hurt. Then you will not be prone to inviting hurt. We do not have basic, simple, innocent self-love. We keep inviting hurt. And equally we are greatly afraid of hurt. Loving yourself is very different from improving yourself or adding value to yourself. In fact, they are opposites in a sense. Understand this. I hope you don't misinterpret me. By loving yourself, I do not mean that you should wear the best sari. Because I love myself so much, so I am gifting myself the best sari. No, no, no. Loving yourself means that you look up to yourself and respect yourself already as you are. You tell yourself that it is not the world that will add value to me. The value resides within. Oh, the value does not reside even in this structure of flesh and bones. It is somewhere else that the value resides. The value resides neither in this nor in this, and surely not in all that. It is somewhere else that the value resides, and that somewhere else is not a distant point. That somewhere else is in here. And if it is in here, I love myself. Why do I love myself? Because that valuable one is right in here. I love myself because this structure is itself the abode of the valuable one. I do not love the structure. The structure will fall to pieces. The structure might get killed tomorrow. Who knows? That is self-love. Love yourself a lot.
This seems too far.
It is not too far. It is your natural state. It seems far only because you have come too far from yourself. So return. And returning is easier than coming so far. Don't remain too dependent upon this and that.